One warm Tuesday afternoon in downtown Chicago, a celebrated tech mogul named Marcus Wellington stepped out of his limousine onto Michigan Avenue, waving at the cheering crowd gathered outside the grand opening of a new community center. The sun beat down hard on the concrete, making the air shimmer like liquid gold. Cameras clicked rapid fire. Reporters shouted questions over each other. Marcus smiled wide, his teeth impossibly white against his tanned skin. His cologne, sharp and expensive, cutting through the smell of hot dogs from a nearby cart. Everything looked perfect. The mayor stood beside him, gripping his hand for a photo. Children held signs that read, "Thank you, Mr. Wellington." Supporters screamed his name like he was a rock star. Then, a skinny homeless boy, maybe 14 years old, shoved through the barricade and slapped Marcus Wellington so hard across the face that spit flew from the billionaire's mouth. The crowd gasped. Someone dropped their phone. The crack of palm against cheek echoed down the block, louder than thunder. Security tackled the kid instantly, slamming him onto the hot pavement. His face scraped against the rough asphalt. Blood trickled from his nose, warm and metallic tasting as it reached his lip. Marcus stumbled backward, hand flying to his stinging cheek, his eyes wide with shock and fury. "Who the hell is this kid?" Marcus shouted, his voice raw. "Get him off the street," the mayor barked. But nobody asked why. Nobody wondered what would make a starving boy with nothing attack a man loved by millions. The truth behind that slap? It will destroy everything you think you know, and what happens next will haunt you for days. Before we dive in, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe, because this story will rip your heart out and then somehow put it back together. You won't believe where this goes. Let's get into it. The rain hammered Boston 3 weeks earlier, like the city owed it money. Not gentle rain, angry rain, the kind that soaked through clothes in seconds and turned gutters into rivers. Eli Carter stood outside the chain-link fence of the apartment complex he'd called home for 6 years. His sneakers, torn at the toes, held together with duct tape, squished with every step. His hoodie clung to his bony shoulders, heavy and cold. His backpack, stuffed with everything he owned, sagged against his spine. Behind him, his landlord, Mr. Vasquez, slammed the gate shut with a metallic clang that cut through the rain's roar. "Please," Eli whispered, his voice cracking, "just one more week. I'll get the money, I swear." Mr. Vasquez didn't even turn around. He was already walking back toward his dry apartment, shoulders hunched against the rain. "You said that last month, kid, and the month before. I'm done." Eli's chest tightened. His throat burned. He wanted to scream, to beg, to punch, something. But what good would it do? A neighbor leaned out her window, rain dripping off the edge. "Hey, kid," she called, "maybe if you got a real job instead of playing artist, you wouldn't be out here." Another voice, deeper, meaner. "Bet he's on drugs. Look at him, skin and bones." Their laughter was worse than the rain. Eli's hands shook as he wiped his face. Couldn't tell anymore if it was rain or tears, probably both. His mom used to tell him, "Baby, your tears are diamonds. Don't waste them on people who don't care." But Mom wasn't here. Dad wasn't here. His older sister Jessica had moved to Seattle 2 years ago and stopped answering his calls. He was 14 years old and completely alone. The soles of his feet ached. He'd been working double shifts at a car wash on Boylston Street until the owner found out Eli was underage and fired him without paying the last 2 weeks. Before that, he'd been doing deliveries for a corner store, but the manager accused him of stealing cash from the register, a lie, and threw him out. Boston didn't care. The city chewed up kids like him and spit them into the gutter. Eli dragged his mattress, soaked, smelling like mildew, under an overpass near Fenway Park. His sketch pad, the one thing he loved more than anything, was ruined. The pages stuck together, the drawings he'd spent months on bleeding into wet blurs. He tried to peel one page apart. It tore, his hands trembled, his chest heaved. "I worked so hard," he whispered to nobody. "I did everything right." A truck roared past, splashing dirty water across his legs. The driver didn't even slow down. By midnight, the rain finally stopped. The city lights reflected off the wet pavement, turning everything orange and sickly. Eli sat with his back against cold concrete, knees pulled to his chest, teeth chattering so hard his jaw hurt. Where would he go? Who could he call? His phone was dead. Even if it wasn't, who would answer? Jessica? She'd made it clear she had her own problems. His dad's brother, Uncle Ray, lived in Denver and hadn't spoken to the family in years. Eli's stomach growled so loud it hurt. When was the last time he ate? Yesterday? The day before? Time blurred when you were this hungry. He closed his eyes, tried to sleep, couldn't. Every time he drifted off, his brain jolted him awake with panic. Cars whooshed by. Nobody looked at him, not once. Hours crawled. The night stretched forever. Then, as dawn broke gray and weak, Eli stood up. His legs felt like they'd been asleep for hours, pins and needles shooting through his calves. He left his ruined mattress behind. What was the point? And started walking. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he couldn't stay still. His life had collapsed overnight, and he had no idea that this unimaginable suffering was about to drag him straight into the path of a billionaire, and into something so twisted he'd never be the same. Morning crept into Boston like it was embarrassed to show its face. Under the overpass near Fenway, Eli blinked awake, if you could call what he did sleeping. His back screamed from lying on concrete. His neck was stiff. His mouth tasted like copper and dirt. Buses hissed past. Horns blared. Someone shouted about fresh bagels from a cart down the block. The smell hit him hard. Warm dough, melted butter, and his stomach twisted so violently. He doubled over. He hadn't eaten in 2 days, maybe 3. He'd lost count. His throat was so dry it hurt to swallow. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a crumpled water bottle, maybe a quarter full. The water was warm and tasted like plastic, but he sipped it slowly, trying to make it last. People rushed past him, a woman in a business suit, her heels clicking sharp against the sidewalk, a guy on a skateboard, earbuds in, oblivious, a jogger with her dog, the dog's leash jingling. Nobody looked at him, not even a glance. That's what being homeless does. It makes you invisible, not because you want to be, because poverty erases you from the world. Eli stood up, legs shaky. He dusted off his jeans. Pointless. The dirt just smeared, and started walking toward downtown Crossing. Maybe he could panhandle. Maybe someone would give him $1. Enough for something, anything. But when he got there, the streets were packed. Tourists snapping photos, office workers grabbing coffee, street performers playing guitars for tips. He tried sitting on a corner with his hand out, but a cop told him to move along. "We don't want your kind here." Your kind. Eli bit his tongue so hard, he tasted blood. He kept walking, past the tourists, past the fancy restaurants with people eating brunch through big glass windows, past the boutique stores selling shirts that cost more than a month's rent. Then he smelled it. Food, real food, fried chicken, roasted vegetables, fresh bread, Quincy Market. The place was packed, loud, alive. Vendors shouted over each other. Kids ran between the stalls. The air was thick with 100 different smells, all fighting for attention. Eli's stomach felt like it was eating itself. He walked up to a woman selling pretzels. "Excuse me," he said, his voice barely audible. "Do you have any extras? Anything you're throwing away?" She looked him up and down. Her eyes landed on his torn shoes, his dirty hoodie, his hollow cheeks. "I don't do charity, kid. Move along." He tried another stall, and another, and another. Some ignored him. Some insulted him. One guy said, "Get a job, you lazy punk." Eli's chest burned. He wanted to scream. He wanted to explain. But what was the point? Nobody cared about the why. They only cared about the what. Finally, he approached an older black man selling barbecue from a small cart. The man had gray hair, kind eyes, and hands that looked like they'd worked hard their whole life. He was flipping ribs on a grill, smoke rising and thick, gray clouds. "Sir," Eli said quietly, "please, anything. I haven't eaten in—" His voice cracked. "Please." The man stopped flipping. He stared at Eli for a long moment. Then he reached under his cart and pulled out a foil-wrapped sandwich. "This was going to be my lunch," he said, "but you need it more than me." Eli's eyes flooded instantly. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you so much," the man nodded. "Eat slow. Don't make yourself sick." Eli stepped to the side, sat on a low bench, and unwrapped the sandwich. Pulled pork, coleslaw, barbecue sauce. The first bite exploded in his mouth, sweet, tangy, savory. His hands shook as he chewed, tears streaming down his face. He'd never tasted anything so good in his life. As he ate, he heard the buzz. The crowd was getting louder, more excited. People were moving toward the center of the market, phones out, voices rising. "Marcus Wellington's here. Oh my God, he's really here. Someone said he's donating $1 million to the community center." Eli's ears perked up. Marcus Wellington. He'd heard the name before, some tech genius who made billions off an app or something. The guy was famous for charity work, always showing up at schools, hospitals, donating money, taking pictures. Eli didn't care. Even if the guy was handing out cash, he wouldn't look twice at a homeless kid. But curiosity pulled him up. He wiped his mouth with his sleeve and drifted toward the crowd. The energy was electric. Sirens wailed. Black SUVs rolled up. Security guards in suits and sunglasses formed a perimeter. Then the main vehicle stopped, and out stepped Marcus Wellington. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than most people made in a year. His smile was wide and practiced, his handshake firm. He moved through the crowd like a politician, shaking hands, posing for selfies, kissing babies. People screamed his name, women cried, men shouted blessings. But Eli wasn't watching Marcus. He was watching the man standing 3 feet away from him, a white guy, maybe mid-40s, with slicked-back blonde hair and a sharp gray suit. His shoes were polished to a mirror shine. His watch glinted in the hour sunlight, probably worth more than a car. He was smiling, but it was wrong. Too tight, too forced. And his right hand was open, palm facing up, fingers slightly curled. At first, Eli thought it was sweat, but then the light caught it differently, and he saw it clearly. Powder, grayish-white, clinging to the man's palm like dust. Eli's stomach dropped. He'd seen that before. 2 years ago, back when he was still in school. A kid in his science class did a project on poisons. The teacher had brought in samples, fake ones obviously, but one stood out. Ricin powder. The kid explained how assassins used it. Odorless, tasteless, lethal if absorbed through skin. All it took was a handshake. Eli's breath hitched. This man, whoever he was going to kill Marcus Wellington, and nobody else saw it. Marcus was shaking hands, moving closer. The blond man stepped forward, adjusting his tie. Smile widening. Eli's heart hammered. His legs moved before his brain could stop them. He shoved through the crowd, elbowing past bodies, ignoring the shouts of, "Hey, and watch it!" Marcus turned toward the blond man. "Richard," Marcus said, surprised. "I didn't know you'd be here." Richard, so that was his name. "Wouldn't miss it," Richard said smoothly. He extended his hand. "Congratulations on the community center, Marcus. You've done great work." Their hands were inches apart. Eli's voice exploded from his throat. "Stop!" Nobody heard him. The crowd was too loud, so he did the only thing he could. He threw himself forward and slapped Marcus Wellington across the face with every ounce of strength he had. The sound cracked like a gunshot. Everything froze. Marcus stumbled backward, hand flying to his cheek. Richard's hand hung in midair, his smile vanishing. The crowd gasped, then erupted into chaos. "What the hell? He just hit Marcus Wellington! Grab him! Somebody grab that kid!" Within seconds, 4 security guards tackled Eli to the ground. His face slammed into the hot pavement. Pain exploded across his nose. Blood poured into his mouth, warm and salty. "His hand!" Eli screamed, spitting blood. "Look at his hand! The powder! He's trying to kill you!" One guard kicked him in the ribs. "Shut up, you crazy kid!" Another twisted his arm behind his back so hard, Eli thought it would snap. Tears streamed down his face. "Please, look at Richard's hand! Please!" But nobody listened. Nobody cared. Except one person. A female security officer, tall and sharp-eyed, named Detective Ava Monroe. She'd been standing near the back, watching the crowd. When Eli screamed about the powder, her gaze snapped to Richard's hand. She saw it. the faint shimmer, the way Richard's fingers curled unnaturally, her eyes narrowed. But before she could speak, Richard wiped his hand on his pants, fast and smooth. The powder vanished. Ava's jaw tightened. Something was very, very wrong. Meanwhile, the crowd chanted, "Arrest him! Lock him up! What's wrong with that kid?" Marcus finally found his voice. "Get him out of here," he said quietly, still holding his cheek. "Take him to the station. I want answers." Eli was dragged to a black van and thrown inside. The doors slammed shut. His chest heaved, his vision blurred. As the van pulled away, he caught one last glimpse of Marcus, confused and furious, still touching his face. And behind him, Richard stood frozen, a flicker of rage in his cold blue eyes. Eli whispered through bloody teeth, "Please let someone believe me." His nightmare had only just begun. The police van smelled like sweat, old coffee, and fear. Eli's wrists were cuffed so tight behind his back that his fingers went numb. His face throbbed where it had hit the pavement. Blood from his nose had dried crusty on his upper lip. An officer sitting across from him sneered, "Crazy kid. You really thought you'd get famous hitting a billionaire?" Another officer laughed. "Nah, he's probably high. Look at those eyes, dilated." Eli wanted to scream. He wanted to explain. But his throat felt like it was closing up. What if they never believed him? What if Marcus died? Because nobody listened. The van screeched to a halt outside a police station in South Boston. The building was old, brick, with barred windows that looked like eyes staring down at him. They yanked him out and dragged him inside. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh and flickering. The air was stale, smelling faintly of bleach and something sour. His sneakers squeaked against the linoleum floor as they pulled him down a narrow hallway. They threw him into an interrogation room, small, gray, a single metal table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs, and a mirror on one wall. Eli knew it was one-way glass. He'd seen enough cop shows. They cuffed him to the table and left him there. Alone. Minutes stretched, or maybe hours. Time felt weird when you were terrified. Finally, the door slammed open. A huge officer walked in, shaved head, neck, like a tree trunk, knuckles scarred. He looked at Eli the way you'd look at dog shit on your shoe. "Name," he barked. "Eli Carter." "Age?" 14. The officer's eyebrow twitched. 14. So you're a minor. Great. Makes this more complicated. He leaned in close. His breath smelled like cigarettes and mint gum. "Who put you up to this?" "Nobody." "Bullshit." The officer slammed his fist on the table. The sound echoed like a bomb. Eli flinched. "A homeless kid doesn't just slap a billionaire for no reason. Who paid you? Who's behind this?" "Nobody." Eli's voice cracked. "I was trying to save him." The officer laughed, harsh, mocking. "Save him? By slapping him? What, you a doctor now? You heal people with your hands?" "There was powder on Richard's hand," Eli said, his words tumbling out fast. "I saw it. It was poison. The same kind I learned about in school. Ricin powder. It kills you if you touch it." Richard was going to shake Marcus's hand, and the officer slapped him. Not hard enough to knock him out, hard enough to sting. Eli's ears rang. His cheek burned. "Don't lie to me, kid." "I'm not lying." Tears streamed down Eli's face. "Please, just check Richard's hand. Test it. You'll see." Another officer entered. A woman this time, short, stocky, with arms crossed. "Boss says we're wasting time. Just lock him up and call social services." "No," Eli shouted. "You have to listen to me. Marcus is in danger. Richard's gonna try again. Please." The first officer grabbed Eli's hair and yanked his head back. "You don't get to make demands, kid. You assaulted a man in front of hundreds of witnesses. You're done." They dragged him out and threw him into a holding cell. Tiny, concrete, smelling like piss and sweat. The door clanged shut. The lock clicked. Eli curled into a ball on the hard bench and sobbed. Hours passed. The lights stayed on, bright, relentless, making sleep impossible. His body ached everywhere. His stomach was empty again. The sandwich from earlier felt like a dream. Then, footsteps, keys jangling. The door opened. Detective Ava Monroe stepped inside. She was in her early 30s, black, with sharp eyes and braids pulled back tight. She wore jeans and a leather jacket, off-duty clothes, but she still carried herself like a cop. "Eli Carter," she said, her voice calm. "I'm Detective Monroe. I need you to tell me exactly what you saw." Eli's heart jumped. "You believe me?" "I didn't say that. I said tell me what you saw." He told her everything, the powder, the way Richard's hand was positioned, the science project from 2 years ago, how ricin works. Ava listened without interrupting. When he finished, she pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. "Is this the man?" Richard's face filled the screen. "Yes," Eli whispered. "That's him." Ava's jaw tightened. "His name is Richard Calloway. He used to be Marcus Wellington's business partner. They started the company together 12 years ago. But 3 years ago, Marcus bought him out after Richard was caught embezzling funds. Richard lost everything. His shares, his reputation, his wife left him. His kids stopped talking to him. He blamed Marcus for all of it." Eli's stomach twisted. "So he really was trying to kill him." "Maybe," Ava said, "but I need proof. I pulled CCTV footage from Quincy Market, but it's grainy. The angle's bad. I can't see his hand clearly enough." "Then test it," Eli said desperately. "Go back to the market. Test the ground where he was standing. The powder had to fall somewhere." Ava studied him for a long moment. "You're smart, kid. Smarter than those idiots out there give you credit for." She stood. "Stay here. Don't talk to anyone. I'm going back to the market." "Wait," Eli called. "What if I'm right? What if Richard tries again?" Ava paused at the door. "Then God help us all." The night stretched forever. Eli couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Richard's face, that cold smile, that poisoned hand. What if Marcus shook someone else's hand? What if Richard tried again at another event? What if Eli had only delayed the inevitable? Then, footsteps. Fast. Urgent. The door flew open. Ava stood there, breathing hard, eyes blazing. "Get up, we need to go, now!" "What happened?" "I found it," she said. "The powder. Tested it at the lab, ricin. You were right." Eli's legs nearly gave out. "And there's more," Ava continued. "Richard bought a plane ticket to Mexico. Leaves in 4 hours. He's running." "Where's Marcus?" Eli asked. Ava's face darkened. "That's the problem. Marcus is at a private gala tonight. Invite only. High security. And guess who's on the guest list? Richard." "Bingo. We have to get there before Richard does. If he tries again." She didn't finish. She didn't have to. Ava unlocked Eli's cuffs. "You're coming with me. You're the only witness who saw what Richard did, and if I'm going to stop him, I need you to identify him on sight." "Wait," Eli said. "Why would you risk your career for me? I'm just a homeless kid. Nobody." Ava looked him dead in the eyes. "Because I was you once, and nobody believed me either. Not this time." She handed him a jacket and a bottle of water. "Drink? Eat this?" She tossed him a protein bar. "You'll need your strength." They ran. The gala was at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown. Glass towers, marble floors, chandeliers the size of cars. Ava flashed her badge at the door, and they slipped inside. The ballroom was packed. Men in tuxedos, women in glittering dresses, champagne flutes clinking, a string quartet playing softly in the corner, and there, at the center of it all, laughing and shaking hands, was Marcus Wellington. Eli scanned the room. "I don't see Richard." "He's here," Ava muttered. "I can feel it." Then Eli saw him, standing near the bar, gray tuxedo, blonde hair slicked back, holding a champagne glass in his left hand. His right hand was in his pocket. "There," Eli whispered, pointing. Ava's hand moved to her gun. "Stay behind me." But before they could move, Richard saw them, his eyes locked on Eli. Recognition flashed across his face, then rage. He dropped the glass. It shattered on the marble floor, champagne spraying everywhere, and he ran. Ava bolted after him. Eli followed, his lungs burning, legs pumping. Richard shoved through the crowd, knocking over a waiter, sending trays of food crashing. People screamed. The music stopped. He burst through a side door into a service hallway, narrow, dimly lit, smelling like kitchen grease. Ava pulled her gun. "Stop! Police!" Richard spun around. He pulled something from his pocket, a vial, small, glass, filled with white powder. "Stay back," he shouted. "I'll break it. I'll kill everyone in this building." Ava froze. Eli's heart hammered. Richard's hand shook. Sweat dripped down his face. "Marcus ruined my life. He took everything from me. I gave him everything, and he threw me away like trash." "Richard," Ava said calmly, "put the vial down. Let's talk." "Talk?" Richard laughed, high, broken. "I tried talking. He wouldn't listen. He never listened." Eli stepped forward. "I know how you feel." "Eli, get back," Ava started. "No." Eli kept moving. "I know what it's like to lose everything, to feel invisible, to be thrown away." Richard's eyes locked on him. You're just a kid." "I'm a homeless kid," Eli said. "I lost my home, my family, everything. And you know what? I wanted to hurt someone too. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break things, but I didn't, because it wouldn't bring anything back." Richard's hand trembled. The vial wobbled. "Marcus isn't your enemy," Eli said softly. "Your anger is. And if you do this, you'll lose the only thing you have left. Yourself." For a moment, Richard's face crumpled. The vial slipped from his fingers. Ava lunged, catching it mid-air. Richard collapsed to his knees, sobbing. It was over. 2 weeks later, Eli sat in Marcus Wellington's office. Glass walls, city views, leather chairs. Marcus sat across from him, a bandage still on his cheek where Eli had slapped him. "I owe you my life," Marcus said quietly. Eli shrugged. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Marcus said firmly. "Most people would have walked away. You didn't. And for that," he slid a folder across the desk. "I want to give you something." Eli opened it. Inside were 3 documents. The first was a lease agreement for an apartment in Cambridge, fully paid for 2 years. The second was a scholarship, full tuition to a private high school. The third was a job offer, part-time, flexible hours, at Marcus's company. Eli's hands shook. "Why?" "Because you saved me," Marcus said. "And because I see something in you, something most people miss. You're smart, brave, and you care. That's rare." Tears streamed down Eli's face. "I don't know what to say." Marcus smiled. "Say yes." Eli nodded. "Yes." They shook hands, not because they had to, because they wanted to, and for the first time in years, Eli felt like he had a home. As Eli walked out of Marcus Wellington's office that afternoon, the sun was setting over Boston, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The air smelled like rain coming. But for once, Eli didn't mind. He had a place to go now. A real place. Detective Ava Monroe was waiting for him in the lobby, leaning against a marble pillar. She straightened when she saw him. "So, how'd it go?" Eli held up the folder, his hands still trembling. "He gave me an apartment, and a scholarship, and a job." Ava's face broke into a rare smile. "Good. You deserve it." They walked out together, through the revolving glass doors onto the busy street. The city noise hit them. Honking horns, distant sirens, people shouting, the rumble of the subway beneath their feet. "What happens to Richard?" Eli asked. Ava's smile faded. "Trial starts next month. He's facing attempted murder charges. With the evidence we have, the ricin, the CCTV footage, his confession, he's looking at 20 years minimum." Eli felt a strange twist in his chest. Not satisfaction, not pity, something in between. "Part of me feels bad for him." "Don't," Ava said flatly. "He made his choices. You made yours. That's the difference." They stopped at the corner, waiting for the light to change. A street musician played saxophone nearby, the notes floating through the air, smooth and melancholy. "What about you?" Eli asked. "What happens now?" Ava shrugged. "Back to work. More cases, more bad guys." "Will I see you again?" She looked at him, her dark eyes softening just slightly. "Yeah, kid. You'll see me. I'm not going anywhere." The light changed. They crossed together. But here's the thing nobody told Eli. The thing nobody warns you about. When your life suddenly gets better, it doesn't erase what came before. 3 days later, Eli moved into his new apartment in Cambridge, a small 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor of a renovated brownstone. The walls were freshly painted white. The floors were hardwood, smooth and clean. There was a bed, a desk, a small kitchen with a microwave and a fridge that hummed quietly. It was perfect, and it terrified him. That first night, Eli lay in bed, a real bed, with actual sheets and a pillow that didn't smell like mildew, and couldn't sleep. Not because it was uncomfortable, because it was too comfortable. His brain kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for someone to knock on the door and say it was all a mistake, for Mr. Vasquez to show up and drag him back out onto the street. He got up and checked the locks. Twice, 3 times, 4. He opened the fridge just to make sure the food was still there. Bread, eggs, milky cheese, all real, all his. He sat on the floor and cried. Not sad tears, confused tears, relieved tears, terrified tears, all at once. School started a week later. Eli walked through the gates of Lawrence Academy, a private school with brick buildings, manicured lawns, and kids who looked like they'd never missed a meal in their lives. Everyone stared at him. He was wearing new clothes. Marcus had taken him, shopping. But he still felt like he didn't belong, like they could smell the streets on him, like they knew. A girl with perfect blonde hair and a field hockey stick slung over her shoulder whispered to her friend as he passed, "That's the kid who slapped Marcus Wellington. I saw the video." Her friend giggled. "He's like famous now." Eli kept his head down and kept walking. His first class was English literature. The teacher, Miss Brennan, was young, energetic, with red glasses and a voice that carried. "Today we're starting The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Who's read it?" Half the class raised their hands. Eli had, back when he still had a library card, back when he still believed books could save you. "Great," Miss Brennan said. "So let's talk about Pony Boy. What makes him different from the rest of the greasers?" A boy in the front row, preppy sweater, gelled hair, raised his hand. "He's smarter. He actually cares about things." "Good, Missa," Brennan said. "But does that make him better than them?" Silence. Then Eli's hand went up. He didn't plan it. It just happened. Miss Brennan's eyes lit up. "Yes? What's your name?" "Eli. Eli Carter." "Go ahead, Eli." He swallowed hard. "I don't think he's better. I think he's just more aware. He sees the world differently because he's been through things, but that doesn't make him better. Just different." Miss Brennan smiled. "Exactly. Thank you, Eli." The blonde girl from earlier turned around and looked at him, not mocking this time, curious. But not everyone was kind. At lunch, Eli sat alone at a corner table, eating a turkey sandwich he'd made that morning. The cafeteria smelled like French fries and teenage sweat. Laughter echoed off the high ceilings. 3 boys walked up to his table. The one in the middle, tall, broad-shouldered, with a smirk that made Eli's stomach tighten, leaned over. "So you're the homeless kid, huh?" Eli didn't answer. "What's it like living on the streets? Did you, eat out of trash cans?" His friends laughed. Eli clenched his jaw, his hands balled into fists under the table. "Leave him alone, Connor." The voice came from behind them. It was the blonde girl from earlier. She stood there, arms crossed, glaring. "Seriously, grow up." Connor rolled his eyes. "Whatever, Emma." He and his friends walked away, still laughing. Emma sat down across from Eli. "Sorry about them. They're idiots." "Thanks," Eli muttered. She stuck out her hand. "Emma Chen, welcome to Lawrence." He shook it. Her grip was firm. "Eli Carter, but you already knew that." She grinned. "Yeah, you're kind of a legend around here. That video of you slapping Marcus Wellington has 5 million views." Eli groaned. "Great. Hey, it's not all bad. You saved his life. That's pretty cool." He looked at her, surprised. "You really think that?" "Yeah," she said simply. "I do." For the first time since arriving at the school, Eli felt like maybe, just maybe, he could do this. But 3 weeks later, everything changed again. Eli was walking home from his part-time job at Marcus, Wellington's company, filing papers, answering emails, nothing glamorous but honest work, when he saw someone standing outside his apartment building. A woman, thin, tired-looking, brown hair streaked with gray, wearing a faded denim jacket. His heart stopped. Mom? She turned, his eyes filled with tears. Eli, baby, I found you. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She walked toward him, arms outstretched. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I got clean. I've been clean for 6 months. I want to make things right. Every emotion hit him at once. Anger, relief, confusion, love, hate. Where were you? His voice cracked. Where were you when I was sleeping under a bridge, when I was starving? Where were you? She flinched. I was sick, baby. I was so sick, but I'm better now. I promise. I want us to be a family again. Eli's hands shook. Part of him wanted to run to her. Part of him wanted to scream. How did you find me? He asked, quietly. I saw the news, she said. The video. Marcus Wellington's press conference. He talked about you, about what you did. I knew it was you. I knew. She stepped closer. Please, Eli, give me another chance. I'm your mother. He looked at her. Really looked at her, the bags under her eyes, the way her hands trembled, the desperation in her voice, and he realized something. She hadn't come back because she missed him. She'd come back because he had something now, security, stability, money. His stomach turned. No, he said. What? No. His voice was stronger now. You left me. You chose drugs over me, over Jessica, over Dad, and now that I finally have something, now you want back in? Tears streamed down her face. Eli, please. No. He stepped back. I love you. I'll always love you, but I can't do this. Not right now. Maybe not ever. Her face crumpled. She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came. Eli turned and walked into his building. He didn't look back. When he got inside his apartment, he locked the door, slid down to the floor, and sobbed. The next morning, Detective Ava Monroe called him. Eli, we need to talk. It's about Richard Calloway. His blood ran cold. What about him? He escaped. Eli's world tilted. What? How? Prison transport. There was an accident. He got away. We've got every cop in Boston looking for him. But, she paused. Eli, I need you to be careful. Richard knows who you are. He knows you're the reason he's going to prison, if he's desperate enough. He'll come after me, Eli finished. Maybe, Ava said. We don't know, but until we find him, I want you to stay alert. Don't go anywhere alone. Keep your phone on. Call me if you see anything suspicious. Okay, Eli whispered, but inside, his mind was screaming. 3 days passed, no sign of Richard. Eli barely slept. Every sound made him jump. Every shadow looked like a person. Marcus offered to hire private security, but Eli refused. He didn't want to live in fear, but fear found him anyway. It was Saturday night. Eli was in his apartment, trying to study for a history test, when he heard it. A knock at the door. Slow, deliberate. 3 times. His heart hammered. He grabbed his phone, finger hovering over Ava's number. Another knock. Eli. The voice was muffled through the door. I know you're in there. Richard. Eli's blood turned to ice. I just want to talk, Richard said. Please, open the door. Eli didn't move. I'm not here to hurt you, Richard continued. I promise. I just need you to understand. I need someone to understand. Eli's thumb pressed Ava's number. The phone rang once, twice. Please, Eli, Richard's voice cracked. I lost everything. My wife, my kids, my life, all because of Marcus and you. You saved him. You took my one chance at justice. That wasn't justice, Eli said loudly. That was murder. Silence. Then Richard laughed, bitter, broken. You're just a kid. What do you know about justice? I know it's not killing someone. More silence. Then the sound of footsteps, walking away. Eli's knees gave out. He collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. 2 minutes later, Ava burst through the door, gun drawn, 4 other cops behind her. Where is he? She demanded. Gone, Eli whispered. He's gone. They searched the building, the street, the alley. Nothing. Richard Calloway had vanished. 1 week later, they found him, not in Boston, in New York City. He'd checked into a cheap motel under a fake name, drank an entire bottle of whiskey, and swallowed a handful of pills. By the time the maid found him, he'd been dead for 6 hours. He left a note. Just one sentence. I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm sorry, Eli. I'm sorry I couldn't be better. When Ava told Eli, he didn't cry. He just sat there, staring at the wall. You okay? Ava asked gently. I don't know, Eli said honestly. Part of me feels bad for him. Part of me is glad he's gone. Is that wrong? Ava sat down beside him. No, that's human. 6 months later, Eli stood on a stage in front of 200 people at Lawrence Academy's annual assembly. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. When I was homeless, he began. I thought my life was over. I thought nobody cared. I thought I was invisible. He looked out at the crowd. Emma Chen was in the third row, smiling. Marcus Wellington sat in the back, nodding. Ava Monroe stood by the door, arms crossed, proud. But I learned something, Eli continued. You're only invisible if you let yourself disappear. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stay visible, even when it hurts. The room erupted in applause. Eli smiled, not because his life was perfect. It wasn't. He still had nightmares. He still missed his mom, even though she hadn't called. Again. He still wondered if Richard's death was somehow his fault, but he was here, alive, fighting, surviving, and that was enough.